I have a little past 7, so I think I'll call the meeting to order. So this is being recorded, and this.
John, did you hear me? Did you hear me say, I'm sorry, I was muted still. I have to jump off for just a few minutes. Should I wait to sign in? And then I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to do introductions. If you want to stay long enough for introductions.
I will do that.
Thank you. So this is the September 15th, 2020 public meeting of the Community Preservation Act Committee. I'm John Kratzley, the chair, and I'm just going to ask each member to introduce themselves, and if they are an appointee from another town committee, just to mention which town committee brings them to our committee.
Tom Kearns, Vice Chair and Select Board appointee.
Nancy Nelson with the Historical Commission. Sorry.
Paul Grasso, Recreation Commission.
Zombrecker, Natural Resources Commission.
Burton Flint, Planning Board.
Peter Ward, Select Board appointee.
And then I see a number of visitors, and I welcome them all. I think we've invited them all in, correct, Heather? So there's nobody in the waiting room. You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, that's everyone that was in
All
the
right.
waiting
Well,
room.
welcome to all the visitors for tonight, because tonight is an opportunity to explain a bit about the Community Preservation Act going forward into the next year, and answer questions and listen to each of you explain your proposed application. So I think we'll begin then. Heather, you have some slides to begin this.
Yeah, I'll put up the PowerPoint.
Yeah. So these slides are familiar to all the committee members, but for those of you that are visiting with us, perhaps for the first time, this is an explanation, of course, of our financial resources. Our financial sources are the surcharge. We are a 1.5% town. You could go all the way up to 3% surcharge on real estate property taxes. And then these funds are matched by funds in the state fund that comes from the Registry of Deeds. That Registry of Deeds contribution was increased last year by the legislature, so that we do expect it to be larger, but we have I know everyone who's on tonight probably wants to know how much money we expect to have to allocate, but we don't have those numbers from the state yet. And so that will be revealed. We did just distribute 1.9 million this year at town meeting on Sunday, but whether we'll have that range of number, we just don't know yet. This is some information. Holly,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna.
I think we have two operations in the same house.
We did Holly.
That should help. So this is how the tax surcharge works. I don't know. Are people still getting an echo?
No.
No. Okay. Good. And these are the projects. We spent 22% of our money over the years on community housing. And of course, I think you all know we just spent some of that money at the new affordable housing unit at Giroux. Historic preservation, there were 3 grants that just were approved, and we pretty traditionally spend about 35%. Open space, we've been traditionally spending 17%. These are some examples that you would all be familiar with for open space. Recreation, we spend about 24% over time, and 2 big ones that were just approved were Giroux and the Warner's Pond dredging. So those are our four big categories. And this is some indication of how the state match keeps getting smaller and smaller. Some of that is attributable to the increasing number of cities and towns that enact the CPC locally. And some of it reflects the changes in the local tax assessment or the state match. And we don't know what 2021 will look like. This is the history of or not the history really, but this is looking forward. Tonight's our second informational meeting. Application deadline was pushed out because of the late town meeting to Friday, October 9th. All the forms are available on the website for our committee. We will do site visits on the 17th of October and expect each applicant to have someone available to talk with us during the site visit, obviously with masks and appropriately distanced. And then there'll be online sessions over 3 weeks in October and early November for actual applicant interviews where each applicant will need to have a well-informed spokesperson to answer our questions and provide more details about the application. We have a public hearing on December 1st that's open to the entire public to ask questions, and most applicants attend that just to answer questions. And then we vote on the 15th of December in order to have our town warrant article with our approved applications ready to go into the town meeting warrant review process. So if there's any questions, that's what the next slide says. Any questions? Yeah.
Let's see. I have a question.
Yeah. Hi, Melissa.
Hi. So I and a colleague, Rebecca Purcell, in 2012, we were the ones who developed a proposal for the Memories of Antietam on behalf of the town. And this year we are looking to have the flagpole at Emerson Field refurbished. It has taken me quite a while to get someone to give me an estimate of the cost, and that's why I'm here. I think I have found one company that does this kind of work. They actually did the refurbishment of the flagpole at Monument Square. And I have reached out to him. I've talked to him. He's promised me a bid. I still don't have it. And the thrust of my question is, I'm used to getting like 3 estimates for a project and coming up with the cheapest price or what I think is the best price. In this case, all I've been able to do is find the one consultant to do the work. It's Yankee Tower out of Boxborough, Harvard, Tom Evarts. He's somebody who is is a vendor for the town. If he does give me the price, is that acceptable to the committee? That's the only price I get.
Well, I'm happy to see what Heather thinks in terms of historically. We've usually looked for multiple bids, but at the same time, we may have to accept some of the realities of the unique nature of a project.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. And sometimes it would be a good thing to be able to show that you tried.
Well, other than many, so, I've reached out to Mass Historical, Mass Preservation, Preservation Massachusetts, this Jim Cannon, who is a consultant in the area. I've talked to a lot of people and gotten not very far.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually, what we're doing this, and to be honest, I haven't heard back from Stephen Crane. I'm doing this on behalf of the town. It just struck us that this is an historic flagpole, is erected in 1929 by veterans of the First World War. There's a time capsule that's placed just adjacent to the base of the pole itself. So I think there's, a strong case for historic value to the pole. But I just have to say, Steve Crane has not responded to me that it's okay that I do this on behalf of the town. It just seemed that it would be an appropriate use of CPC funds.
Kate Hodges has her hand raised.
Hi, Kate.
Hi there, how are you? I'm actually just learning of this for the first time, so I'm so glad that I heard that. And
Well, I'm sorry, so I should have CC'd you. So I was.
oh no, you certainly don't need to CC me. That the town manager is perfectly fine. But I would just offer that our facilities director is actually on the call as well, and he actually was instrumental in getting the flag that's at Monument Square refurbished and repaired. And I'm wondering if perhaps you could just write me an email that has your contact information. If we could get in touch with you and work with you on getting an estimate.
That would be
He's
great.
gonna love that I just signed him up for that.
Well, I think I was the one that recommended the one from Monument Square. Because I did.
So did Jeremy talk to you? Because I contacted Jeremy out of Stephen Crane's office, and I sent an email to Steve Crane and Alan Cathcart. I did not send it to you, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You know what? We have a bit of a disconnect too, because Ryan and I are in a different office across town too, so we don't really run into Jeremy and Stephen all that often, which is not your issue, but I think we might be able to help you, certainly faster.
It's fine. I think I was the one that sent the contact information for the company that you did contact. Whether it was Jeremy, I'm not sure who sent the email. But I mean, a lot of the times, if I get, I'll send an email to a company that may or may, I mean, if you think they might refurbish flagpoles, then send them an email. If they don't respond, that's a no response. That's the same as getting an estimate that's too high or too low, or you know, it's
Non-responsive.
Okay,
yeah.
well then I have. Then I can justify I've done 3.
Absolutely, yeah.
One responded, but not fully yet. I mean, the other thing, if I can just ask you, Ryan, at the base of the flag is a rock that has the plaque on there that talks about Emerson Field. And right next to that is the dog waste bag receptacle holder. I think that is rather disrespectful to the flag. And I, in front of all you folks, would just like to ask the town to consider moving both the rock to some other place that's a little more dignified, and definitely get the dog poop bags out of there in some other place. I can certainly understand that, you know, people see the flagpole, they're going to see the dog waste bags.
So if we can all agree on where we should put the dog waste bags, then I will move them tomorrow.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Ryan, we're overstepping now.
Well, the one, as chair, I was just going to ask Kate and Ryan to just introduce themselves to all our guests, as you guys jumped right in.
I apologize. I'm so sorry. And I was having some problems signing on, so I'm on my phone. But my name is Kate Hodges, and I'm the Deputy Town Manager.
And I'm Ryan Orr, Facilities Director.
Great.
And Ryan Kane is on this call as well. And Ryan, I don't know if you could, he's a dog waste bag master.
Oh,
Well, welcome to all three. And Melissa, may we tentatively list you as a possible applicant?
Well, if you think it's okay, well, yes.
Okay.
And with your help, Ryan, maybe we can get Tom Everts to, you know, he promised me an estimate a week ago.
I'll make note of it and I'll check in with him tomorrow.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes, that's what I thought we'd do next, was just to see what kind of questions Melissa's application or potential application raised.
I guess I only ask if the committee would feel more comfortable if after Ryan and I put our collective heads together and work with Melissa, if we were to write a memo saying that, you know, she's certainly done her due diligence and we, you know, agree that she's having a problem getting the 3 quotes. Is that something that's helpful?
Yes, I would
Great.
say so.
yes.
Then we'll happily, you know, we'll try again and go from there.
So
I'm sorry that someone didn't get back to you, Melissa. That's not
if any of the other committee members, the CPC members had questions for Melissa about this potential application. No, I don't see-
It sounds like a reasonable application. We look forward to seeing a draft.
We have big plans for when it's all done and finished, and then we would like the town to open up the time capsule. I know what's in it because there are documents at the library, special collections about what's in it. But, you know, if anybody Rebecca Purcell, know that Rebecca likes a little bit of splash. So, you know, if we get funded, we'll have some splash.
Wonderful. I was going to ask if there was a date when the capsule had to be opened by.
That was not included in any of the documents that they have. You know, so that I think that's probably a select board decision.
Okay, I can take that back.
Okay.
Let me.
But let's wait until we get a project first.
Well, oh yeah.
Let me welcome another of our CPC members. Diane, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Diane Proctor, and I've been nominated by the Select Board, and I'm very sorry to be late. We had a call from our daughter, and it was important, so we were on a phone, and now we're here. So I apologize for being late.
We have just listened to the first potential applicant.
Oh, good. I'm sorry to have missed it.
Which is Melissa Saulfield, about the flagpole at Emerson Field, a refurbishment project in which there are a number of town staff on the call, and they've expressed some real interest in working with her on this project. So I think we'll just ask next who would like to present or describe a potential project. I see a number of names. Tom Wilson, you want to speak up?
Let me unmute myself. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Wilson. I've a long time, probably been in Concord for like maybe 40 years. I lived in 5 or 6 different houses. This is my home. This is where I'm going to be. I have the honor, really, of sort of taking charge of a project that is part First Parish and part of the trustees of parish donations, and that is to look at the future of the Wright Tavern. I don't need to talk to this group about what the importance of the Wright Tavern is to Concord and to our country. But one of the things that's exciting is that, as you probably all know, there is a number of big celebrations being planned for the 250th celebration of the founding of our country. And beyond that, there's a lot of other activities being planned. And the Wright Tavern has always been this sort of private place. It's been used by First Parish for offices. There have been various things that have happened. We had a wonderful relationship with the Concord Museum for a number of years, but for a number of reasons that didn't go forward. And so I am actually leading a task force that is made up of First Parish parishioners, members of the trustees, and some members of the community. And by the way, we're looking for new members. So we're kind of at the beginning stage. And we're calling ourselves the Wright Tavern Futures Task Force. And the idea is, and our mission is really quite simple. We want to help to define a new mission for the Wright Tavern, something that will create greater sense of public involvement and public access, something that allows the building itself to take what I like to call its rightful place in the history of this town and this history of our country. And there's going to need to be some things to make that happen. So we have a task force of probably, there's a major team, which is made up of members of trustees, and Howard Dana is involved in that, or the senior minister. And that's probably about 6 or 8 of us. And then there's like 4 or 5 different sub-teams, project teams looking at different things. So we have almost like 20 people involved in this effort. So it's a major initiative that we started probably back in January, but because of COVID and a lot of other things, we're taking a slower start, but we've got some time. So there's not really a big pressure. And our vision is to really do the research that's necessary to understand who's out there, what's out there, that we ought to connect with in terms of programs and education, partners that we can form with, other organizations that we could do things with, whether it be, the Robbins House, obviously Concord Museum, the Mayflower 2, I mean, any number of different places. And Bill also looking for funding partners. So it's a long way of saying that there's an initiative now underway, and I'm so proud to tell you about it and to answer any questions you might have. We're at the beginning of the stages. We're doing the research, and our plan initially in this particular phase is to look out there and try to understand what are some organizations and that where we could form a partnership and alliance that would help to bring the Right Tavern into something what it would be, I think, rightfully be its proper place. Exactly what that mission will be, exactly what the Right Tavern will be like, we don't know. And that is really why we're doing our research now. And then sometime in December, January, or early part of next year, we hope to develop what that mission and that vision will be for the building and for that program. And then as we talk about that, involve a lot of people, both in the community and different organizations that are active with us to make this a reality, and to spend the next couple of years identifying who are our best partners and all of that. And so for education, for programs, for funding, for doing other programs. So there's an initiative here that I wanted to share with you. I'm leading it, but it's a major collaborative effort by a lot of people, and a lot of people are quietly engaged in this stuff. It's important, and the reason I'm here tonight is that the building is actually not very sound. There has been a number of different, really, and the CPC has invested a number of funds over the years, and a number of other organizations have. And so we've done what we could to really make it, kind of keep it together. But there are issues that the certain infrastructures, the building is starting to separate from the foundation structures, and there's some things that are slow cooking, sort of like that putting that frog in the boiling water kind of story. So we are looking very carefully, and have been investigating. We've had a building inspector look at the building. We've had a structural engineers look at the building. We've obviously done a historical structure report, and we've done some analysis of this to really understand what we really need to do in terms of its fundamental infrastructure. And so what we're going to be presenting to you on or before October 9th will be a proposal to help support us with the funding of that project. And we'll talk more about the funding, the dollars in a little bit. I'd like to sort of ask Holly, and if Josh, if you're on the line, maybe tell us a little bit about what we have found in terms of the priorities for that building.
Yeah, so my name is Josh Bath, and I am at Nishatic Architects. Formerly, Holly Kress, who is my employer for many, many years. So what the structural report came up with is that the roof structure is, the snow loads on the roof are actually causing the beams inside the building to sag. And by sagging, it's causing the roof to also sag in several different places. So we've had a structural engineer who's given us a recommendations about how we can alleviate some of these stresses. And I guess the first and foremost thing that he is saying that we should be doing is to restructure the roof, keep the entire roof, and add additional rafters and floor joists, and fix the beams that we need to fix, put new ridge beams in, and basically stabilize the building. So we're not trying to jack up the building and make it perfect by any stretch. All we're trying to do is stabilize it so that we can stop the sagging and progression of deterioration. And then that goes all the way down to the foundation, where there's structural supports that are not not structurally supporting anything at this point. So there's valley columns that don't have post bases. There are cracking foundation walls. There's a lot of repairs that need to be taken care of.
Yeah, and I would just add that the purpose of all of this structural work is that the assumption of the task force is that this building will become open to the public in a much more active way than it has been in the past. And so that is our goal, is to make it so that programming can happen in the building and people will be safe. And when the historic structures report was done, there was one ceiling on the first floor that they said really should be repaired immediately, and still has not happened. And the Concord Museum had small school children in there doing colonial arts and crafts underneath the ceiling. So we really need to be mindful that this has to be done well. The other things on our list to do, so the structure is the big item. It's a very strong recommendation that we look at sprinklering the building, and that's where we don't have quotes on that yet, but we are definitely going to look at that, and we're going to talk to some of the house museums in Lexington, and there are others in Concord, and see how they've dealt with sprinkling issues. It certainly would make it a much safer building for public access. Then for the systems of the building, to do this work in the attic will involve taking down ceilings on the second floor. Those have to be repaired. Once the ceilings are replaced, they have to be painted. That will destroy the carpet on the second floor. So there are things to get it back into use after the structure is done to cover up the damage that the structure does. And then insulating the attic would be a great energy saving for the building, and add to comfort. And also if we used foam, that will sort of help to brace some of the new structure in as well. So there's a number of items that we're looking at. We are not looking at this point at any new HVAC for the first floor, because we want to wait and see what uses the first floor is going to have, because that will help to determine what the design of that system. But there is an HVAC system in the attic that serves the second floor. It will be quite disrupted by the structural repairs because it runs through the whole attic. And so the contractors have recommended that we replace the HVAC system for the second floor as well. And I know a number of the Greening Concord committees would be very happy to have us have a more efficient system than we currently have. So those are some of the key items that we're putting together to try to come up with a budget for this. And I think, Tom, do you have do you want to?
Yeah, let me pick it up from here, Holly. Thank you very much. Josh and Holly, thank you very much. I think you've given the committee, I think, some important insight in terms of what's happening inside the building. We're very, very committed to keeping this building in terms of its role and its importance historically. And we're looking at partners that we're going to be involved with in terms of, as I said, an educational programmatic point of view, funding partners. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're different. We want to form networks with other organizations where we can do programs together. We've been meeting with with BJ Dunn over at Minuteman. We've been talking to people at the Concord Museum. It's a very active and a very collaborative, and we're just excited about the future of what this can be. But it comes with a price tag, and the price tag is something that's going to be much greater than I think this committee can really do, but it's something that we feel very personally very responsible for. So our sense is at this point in time, that number is probably in the 500, 600, maybe could go as high as 700,000 in terms of doing the things that's not really a wish list, but what's necessary to get it to where a potential programmatic partner would look and say, yes, we can do this. Maybe they would find a funding partner, help us do some more cosmetic renovations, but you need to build the cosmetics on a very solid foundation. We're not going to be asking the committee for that whole amount of money because I think it's probably outside your scope. And, there are a lot of important calls. So we're working to figure out what's the right number and what would it be attributed to specifically. So you can know that your funding would be for certain things that are, as Josh was saying, for example, the structural integrity of the building and things of that nature. So we're working hard right now to get that together and to put together a proposal that is both compelling and competitive. And we're quite excited about what it means. And so I'm here tonight just to share with you two things. One of which, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this process and to really tell you that the good things are coming. And the second thing is just tell you about this task force, because not many people know about it. We've been pretty careful to keep it sort of quiet because we want to figure out what we really want. What's the vision that we have for the Right Tavern? But it's something that we're going to engage a number of people as we shape this vision. And then the next phase of that, once we've established what we want to view as this building and how it can be as part of the town of Concord, engage a lot of people in terms of help become reality. And, it'll change shape as we go through this over time. And that's fine too, because that's what collaboration is all about. So I am, as I said, my job is basically a sheep herder dog on all of these 20 some odd people that are involved in this project to make sure everybody's doing their thing that they need to be doing. And one of the critical teams that we have is our structural team, which Josh and Holly are part of. So that's what we're about. And I wanted to just open it up to any kind of questions that you might have and in ways that we can be helpful to explain kind of what we're doing and and why you're so important to us.
Let's just see if some of the committee members have questions at this point. Yeah, Tom?
Thanks, Tom and Josh and Holly. Nice job. It sounds like a really exciting project. I think it was mentioned that there's been a history of CPC funding that's been focused on Right Tavern. And so at the time of application, I think that'll be interesting for us to kind of pull together that history, how that was applied and stewarded, if you will, and as a way of looking forward. But certainly,
we will.
Yeah, certainly an important structure.
Good. Thank you. We'll do that. That's a great point.
And
yeah, Nancy?
I can't tell you how excited I'm hearing about this tonight. And I'm glad conversations are underway with BJ and the National Park.
Mm-hmm.
But what I didn't hear, and I think would be greatly important in this, is to fold in somehow the expertise of our historical architects and folks who have worked all over the North Atlantic region and nationwide on projects like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a very exciting project here in Concord, but I think in a national sense, it's extremely important. So I think that might be very interesting to a partnership with NPS, even beyond the local national park. That's my.
Nancy, I really appreciate you saying that in lots of ways, because as I said, we're kind of at the beginning of this journey.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to reach out to you offline about who are those organizations. And my job is partly is to figure out who we need to be connecting with and making sure that we establish those connections, because we've got our organization set up as our project teams, and there are people involved who are heads of each of the teams. And I can say, okay, great, we have a woman who's Nancy can take one thing, or Holly can take one, or and we'll make sure we coordinate our work with that, because this is not something that we want to do it in a close or myopic way. It's very much a collaborative effort. Value that. So yeah. I'll reach out to you, Nancy, afterwards and follow up.
Thank you.
Other committee members with questions? Yeah, Diane.
Thank you. I was wondering, I think it's pretty important to give us a sense. I thought I was lowering my hand, and there I am lowering my hand. I hope you can give us a sense of the history of the tavern, Tom.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be extensive.
Yeah.
But knowing something about it. I mean, I see the word Right Tavern, and when I first came to Concord about 30 years ago, I thought, oh, it's a tavern. And then I tried to get in to see what a quaint English pub. And of course, that wasn't what it was. So I think something about the history of it, I think will help a great deal to ground us in some sort of sensibility for how it's been used and what its future is. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I tell you one story, if I could, in terms of indulging the committee? In October of 1774, many of you probably may or may not know this, there was a first provincial Congress of Massachusetts. And what it was about 300 people from throughout Massachusetts met. They planned the project, they planned this meeting, the agenda, all of the stuff that goes along with a 3 to 5 day meeting at the Right Tavern. The meeting was held at the Meeting House, First Parish. If you think about what was happening at that time, this is before the Declaration of Independence. This was a time, and I don't, the records of who was in the meeting and what they said is not available because there was substantial risk to every person who attended for treason by the British. And the British were very much aware of this meeting, but they did not, involve it. And there were spies. So it was very careful to not keep any records. But we have this idea, if you think about it, that not long after that particular meeting, this idea about creating a country that's based on democratic principles where people can vote and that people actually govern the country, that paradigm shift, maybe that occurred at this meeting at this time, because those concepts that John Adams, John Hancock, and a number of others wrote so well about carried that into Philadelphia as we began to create in the Continental Congress in Philadelphia a couple of years later. So did it start here? There is some, I'm going to be a little audacious and to think that that the founding of the concept of a democratic society may have started at this meeting house, or more importantly, in the Right Tavern, because that's where a couple of guys, and the big guys, sat around, maybe over a couple of nights, and said, it's time for us to separate from the Britain and start a different. And what does that really mean? So I think that we have something to be really excited about in terms of what we want people to learn about in terms of this particular building. So my quick little story.
I'm sure lots of people would weigh in on that.
Yes, they would. They would, I'm sure. And that's fine. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want.
Other committee members, other CPC members with questions for the team that came tonight? If not, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, John.
Everybody.
Thank you.
And everybody involved. And I will now ask John Stagos, if I got that right.
Stragus?
Stagos?
Yes.
John is with us, Mr. Crabtree.
I'm with the town of Concord.
Oh, okay. Then,
So we come as a 4-pack.
I work with Ryan Orr and Kate.
okay,
and
great.
Ryan
Let's
Kane.
see if there's any other, let's see, there's a Helen.
Yes, I'm here. Let's see. I'm really just here as an observer. I have no plan right now to be applying to CPC, but I'm fascinated by the whole program, and it's high time that I learned more about it because I've been living in Concord since 1975.
Very good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
I think
Well done.
I think we will move on to what looks like it may be the town of Concord with I don't see any other private or nonprofit applicants. So there are 4 folks from the town, I think, and who wants to take the lead?
I will take the honor, Mr. Crabtree. Thank you so much. So I'm actually presenting you all of the possibilities that the town has as a whole. So it would include both things from Parks and Recreation, the Facilities Division, the Parks and Playgrounds Division, the planning and land management and conservation. And so if Heather, if you could allow me to share my screen, there's a couple of things that I think it might be important for people to at least see where the properties are on the map.
Does it give you that ability?
It will if you give me permission.
How do I do that? Usually I have an admin.
I can send you something that it'll pop up.
Okay.
Okay, did you see that?
Make her a co-host, Heather.
Oh, I can
Pop up on
try
your
to do
screen
that.
anyway.
Then she can share her screen.
Yeah, share your screen.
Okay, I made you a co-host.
Well, thank you. Okay, so the first one that, these are in no particular order, by the way, but the first project is $250,000 or thereabouts for another phase of the Warner's Pond dredging project. I'm happy to go into more detail if the committee would like, but given that we just went through that process for an amount that just was approved on Sunday, I figure you're probably well versed in what that is about. We'll be asking for an additional $300,000 for the White Pond beachfront. That process, which we will be beginning in earnest, we will be starting right around October. And for a variety of reasons, which we'll bring in front of the commission at a later date, we're looking for some funding to be able to do some additional stormwater management planning and a couple of ADA ramps and things of that nature. And that will be under recreation and open space. The Ralph Waldo Emerson Memorial Association, this is an open space, and I'm going to share my screen in the hopes. Sorry. Can you all see that? Did it come up with a GIS map?
Yes, you did it. It's good.
Predominantly white. So this is Cambridge Turnpike here, and this is the Emerson Thoreau Amble, essentially that comes over the river here, and this is obviously Walden Street. And so if you recall, a number of years ago, the town actually went through and purchased this parcel right here. It's open space. This is the police department, and that has access to the old ice house. And so this is actually the parcel that we're looking to have a conservation restriction on. And that would be about purchasing a conservation restrictions on a potentially buildable lot, which this is a buildable lot because it has frontage on Cambridge Turnpike. And that would be located obviously between the Ralph Waldo Emerson House, which is here, and then, Hayward Meadow, which comes over here. The Chamberlain Park Bridge, which would be both an open space and a recreation project, looking for $35,000 for that. So this is Lowell Road, Monument Square is right here, and this is the Keyes Road parking lot right behind the visitor center and the bank. Chamberlain Park, the actual park is here, you can see, but this is, we're actually talking about the wooden bridgeway that is nearing its 40th birthday this coming fall. It's 180 feet pedestrian bridge, and it connects Keyes Road to Chamberlain Park, but more importantly, Keyes Road to Monument Square. And it's really nearing the end of its functional lifespan. Prior to CPA, funding had been used to develop bridge plans and some cost estimates, and that information was obtained through a grant, which we used to explore the potential of doing the work in-house. And so that would be where Ryan Orr and his crew, who are also on the call, would be called in, and that's why we're looking for $35,000 for materials, but we're hoping that the work can be done in-house. Lastly, as far as things I'm going to bring the map up for, are you able to see this picture? It's a white house.
Yes.
So this is the Harrington House. Many years ago, I think we're probably going to go on 35 years ago or so, the town purchased this home. It is a historical home, and Harrington Park is here. If I'm able to zoom out, this is Harrington Avenue. This is the river that's back here. This is Marshall Farm. Excuse me, Marshall Farm's greenhouses, and then the Marshall farmhouses. So the town actually owns Marshall Farm, this whole parcel, and up into here. clearly this is an active farm. For the past 30 years or so, before our current, the Benezes lived in this home and they were the caretakers of the home. They paid a 40% market value rent based on the assessed value, with the understanding that they were to upkeep and improve upon the home, making sure that they were staying within the historical parameters. The Benezes have since moved out, and so for the past 2 years, it's been rented to a Concord school teacher and her significant other and her teenage son live there. They've been doing a lot of work as far as painting and some restoration of the bathroom area. That was a 3-year lease because we wanted to try to have someone come in and give us an idea of what we could do with the property and whether it would be used, you know, by the historical commission or historical society. Would it be better used as, you know, a museum of some type or a gallery? And so we are looking for somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 to have someone come in and assess the home, the area that's part of sort of the residential area, and then this parcel in total, and how this parcel can best connect to the area here, where you can see there's a pathway along the river's edge, but how we can improve upon that. And so that's something that we're looking at doing. So I can stop the share. We're also looking for $25,000 in open space and recreation for the completion of phase 2C of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail for some additional amenities, opportunities for some additional fencing, paving, landscaping, signage, benches or boulders to sit on to expand upon the use and the experience of the trail users. So the majority of the funds previously allocated were required to be used for the final construction package for the last half mile of 2C. That was per the direction of Mass DOT. And so we've actually exhausted those funds and are looking for the $25,000 to have some additional amenities there. As in years past, we have some of the standard technical support. So we have the CPC administrative funds for staff and technical support. That's $40,000. So the act, as you know, allows a municipality to use a portion of its funds to support the CPC. And so as in years past, we would be proposing using those funds for that purpose. And also for the Regional Housing Services Office, the Regional Housing Service Office has been funded in part by the town and CPC for the past 9 years. And so this request once again represents half of the funds that are needed, the other half provided by the town. So RHSO provides critical support to the town's affordable housing initiatives, and they provide professional staff to 9 communities in meeting the administrative and monitoring the needs of existing affordable housing programs or expanding upon those programs. And so we're looking for $25,000, which would be under the community housing category. And then lastly, we're required to update our housing production plan every 5 years, as you likely know. And the project was delayed for a year to allow the completion of the 2020 census, since the number of housing units declared in the census is part of the calculation of the town's percentage of affordable housing units. So we're required to have a robust public engagement component, as we should. And that will be a more challenging as we undertake this work while trying to maintain social distance. And so we are looking for $30,000 for assistance with the 5-year update of the housing production plan, which may have a consultant or consultants or someone try to gather information remotely or do several informational sessions and survey in order for us to be able to fulfill that requirement. And so I'm sorry, that would be under the community housing category as well.
Did any of your staff want to add anything?
So Ryan Kane, do you want to talk about the White Pond?
go all corny on you because you said you like splashes, and we can do plenty of splashes at White Pond when we reopen for an activity there. No, just I think the major component of White Pond that we've been looking at all along is really getting that accessibility and the stormwater management. And if anybody's ever been down there during one of the torrential rains, they see the washout that coming down both the hill and on the driveway. And this would really be addressing those components, and that's really going to go a long way with the health of the pond, and is putting the town in a good spot to be good stewards for the health of the pond. And then just additionally, that accessibility, if you've been down there, you know the accessibility challenges that it is to get down to the facility. We've had another great successful summer there. Had 520 households signed up with memberships, and we were we were definitely busier than we were last summer under the new challenges of having to do reservations and everything, but we were moving about 100 families through the pond every day. So again, another great asset for the community, and it'd be nice to improve upon that moving forward.
Thank you. And Ryan Orr, I was wondering if you could just, I don't think we talked too much about Harrington House, and since you've been managing both the interior and exterior of that, if you just wanted to share some of the challenges and why it would be helpful to have someone who deals in historic, homes, et cetera, come in.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the house is definitely in need of some interior and exterior repairs. Exterior has been a challenge because we really need the approval of HDC to do anything. So it's not something I can just jump in and take care of right away. We need to take the proper steps to do it right. Interior, there's a lot that needs to be done. But really, I hate to take, even though it's not regulated by HTC or anything, it's just, it would be nice to keep the house to the age that it should. I mean, looking the age that it is. That's really it. I mean, we definitely need some funding to do what needs to be done to the interior. It's not, it's livable, but it definitely could use some updates. So.
What is the age of the house, Ryan?
Is that 17?
Yeah, it was, it's about 1790 or so. I will say that we've been, we meaning Ryan Orr and I have been relatively vocal in the staff meetings about how interested the town is in having the town as a landlord, and whether that really is the highest and best use for staff time or even resources, and whether there would be a better and more robust municipal purpose for this property. And so I think having somebody that professionally deals in that realm and in that sphere be able to take a look at it and then ask the right questions to members of the community, those who are interested in historical preservation and those who may not know too much about it. It would be interesting, I think, for the town manager's office to understand the community's desire for this property, because I'm not sure we've ever given it the proper amount of attention or asked the right questions. So I know I personally would benefit a great deal from that, because I think that it's a resource that perhaps people don't even know that we have.
Judy, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. On Harrington House, back in 2016, $40,000 was appropriated for preservation of Harrington House, and that money has not been used. How does this application fit in with this unused money?
So that money was actually to repair the roof and to address the small building lean-to that the previous owners had kind of built on as a outside kitchen. And that was around the time that Ryan Orr and his crew started. And Ryan felt that the cost estimate that we got for that work was quite high. And so his crew and he did the work themselves. And so we have, we expressly said that it was for the roof and exterior. And so we would have to go back to town meeting and reappropriate. But I believe, although I want to check on it with Carrie LaFleur, our Chief Financial Officer, that borrowing authority has been rescinded. But if you'd allow me to check, I can get back to you for sure.
Okay, so this is a completely different project, and the status of the project I just referred to is not certain at this point then.
The status of the project you just referred to is complete. It was just completed in-house, and the money was asked for before we had a robust in-house resource in Ryan and his team.
Okay, great, thanks. And then also I just want to point out, because I live very close to that, I think that's great what you're describing around the house. And the town actually owns then further property over to on the other side of Marshall Farms that connects to the Harrington Park. So it's quite a nice resource over in that area.
It also connects to the Riverwalk.
Yeah, Riverwalk and the
over there. So
that's right.
yeah.
Yes.
It really is a beautiful set of parcels, and I think I'd be interested to see what, if anything, people would like to have there, or simply keep it as is. But it would be interesting conversation.
Yeah. And then I had a question, because I wasn't quite clear on the map you showed around the Thoreau Amble. You had two parcels that were shaded gray. And is the proposal to purchase the conservation restrictions for both of the parcels that you showed that were shaded?
So this is actually, it's one parcel. It's just very strangely shaped. So this is parcel 0246. The reason it's buildable is because it has this frontage here, you see.
I see, okay.
But this part right here is kind of where the ice house area is here, and you can on the back. But yeah, that's actually one parcel. It's about 0.7 acres.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the river line makes it look as if it's two.
Yeah, that's what threw me off. Okay, thank you.
Nancy.
Okay, a couple years ago, there was money for a charrette that would examine potential uses for the Wheeler Harrington House. And I'm wondering if this money that's going to assess the home and the adjacent lands and potential opportunities, is this going to be a substitute for that kind of community engagement? And when is the lease going to expire?
Well, let me see. I don't know anything about the initial part of that, and I'm thinking that perhaps it predates me. So if you allow me a little time to look that up and talk with Marcia. Did you say?
It was Marcia's item on town meeting warrant, I think, and then it was.
Do you happen to recall the year?
It never got 1 year ago, 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was about.
Oh, no, I was here then.
Yeah, that was about $25,000 they were looking for. I recall that. Yes.
Are you talking about? So that was the study that was done for the park, correct?
It was not ever done.
It was not ever done.
The request for the money was withdrawn wherever it was.
Oh,
I think Marcia's withdrawn that project twice.
Oh, okay.
Because of there being so many applications.
Yeah, and there are so many interrelated parcels there that it really probably warrants a broader look, that's all. And then I'm interested in when the current lease expires.
So the current lease actually has lapsed in that the way that it's written is that they had a 3-year agreement, which we began in 2018.
Right.
And so it would, as of September 1st, the issue is with COVID is that while it would not be an eviction by any means, we aren't allowed to displace people from their homes during this time.
I got it.
And so I was asked the question of the town manager about how he'd like to proceed with at least notifying them, either of our intent to go through for another RFP. We do have the option that was in the RFP, which led us to these particular tenants, that upon mutual agreement, we could extend for an additional 3 years, or that we just notify them that the town is looking for a repurpose of the area, and is basically alerting them to when the governor lifts whatever restrictions we have as far as on the landlord side, that we would do that. So I'm actually drafting a memo similar to the one I sent to the manager, both to historic and to planning, to try to get.
How about the historical commission?
Both, yeah.
Okay.
To both.
Okay,
I'm
good,
sorry,
good.
I thought I said
Okay,
those.
good.
And to the select board, because I think that, we certainly don't want anyone to be blindsided by it, but I certainly don't think the town wants to be in a position to leave anybody without housing, of course.
I understand the problem with COVID, but I do think it would be wise maybe to alert the tenants, given the issues that have surrounded their tenancy.
Sure. Well, I did pose that question to the manager, and I'm waiting for a response.
Okay, and I don't think anybody from the historical commission has had any involvement there for a very long time.
We
Correct.
also have a draft policy that we had sent to the manager, looking to have the approval processes if and when we have different renters or the same renters, such that while the town, meaning myself and Ryan, would be made aware, we lack the training in what is considered historically appropriate or not. So
Right.
we'd like to change the process where that historical and natural resources have to give the first okay before it comes to the town manager's office.
Gotcha. And I think there was something that Heather drafted quite some time ago that sounds similar to that.
Yes, yep, that was sent to the manager's office
Thank you.
pre-COVID. So we'll,
Thank you.
it's on his list, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Diane?
Thank you. I'm curious, Kate, about the request to update community housing plan. That seems like a lot of money for that project. Can you expand on what that really means? Besides counting the number of affordable housing units that we have, what else is included in that 5-year evaluation?
So I have to say that this project is actually going to be spearheaded by Marcia Rasmussen and the Regional Housing Services. And unfortunately, Marcia had a conflict tonight with another meeting, and so I'm pinch hitting. And I don't think that I can do it quite as well as she. But what I can tell you is that I believe it's a bit of a placeholder as far as the monetary value, but it essentially is trying to capture the need for other ways to reach out to people that aren't just a series of public forums, because we have to not have gatherings over 10, and perhaps having different types of focus groups that are led by, either a consultant or something of that nature, or to move this type of survey or something online where we have pointed questions and responses that are then generated and then collected and compiled. But I certainly believe that you will have a much more thorough response from Marcia when it needs to be brought forward.
Thank you.
Matt?
I just wanted to mention, just having been involved in past housing production plans, it's far more than just an inventory of our housing units. And it's really the identification of priority sites and strategy really for achieving our housing goals, and really also updating what are our housing goals. How do we produce housing? Like in the past, we've had policies that said, hey, housing should be spread out all around the town. The scale of developments should be small. These are issues that involve engagement with the public to really determine whether there have been changes in attitudes that should affect our future policies.
Thank you.
Next time we will call on Mr. Johnson first.
Is it the planning board that initiates those discussions, Matt?
The planning board is the body that's mostly engaged with this housing production plan, yeah.
Okay, and not the Housing Development Corporate. Okay, thank you.
Well, they're definitely heavily involved in proposing
I was
sites.
just trying to figure
yeah.
out who's driving the carriage is what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Regional Housing Services Office and the Planning Division, together with the Planning Board, those are the entities that really work on this most.
Thank you.
Yeah, Judy.
A question on the White Pond project. I know that some of the boat ramp, I think it is owned by the state. And I was just curious, the improving the drainage, which I know is a real issue on that driveway, and probably contributes some to the health or the blue algae issues in the pond. Is the drainage proposal on our property or the town property, or is that part of the state property?
So it's both, and it probably has an equal amount on our property relative to the hill and the switchback walkway that's being proposed, although that isn't as clearly defined. It is on the side of the state's driveway that abuts the park parcel. So if you're driving in from Plainfield Road and driving straight down, on the left-hand side is where we would have it. Unfortunately, there's a little bump out on the right-hand side. We actually aren't able, due to the restriction, and it was the restriction of all 3 of the parcels from the gift, we can't alter any of that. There's a permanent conservation restriction on there for farming and open space. So we had to sort of push everything to the left-hand side. That said, last year, through the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife and the EAP, we entered into a maintenance agreement with the state, whereby they effectively said, and you may find this amusing, they are going to retain all rights of ownership, but happily allow us to improve upon it and reserve the right to not contribute monetarily to that, but we could do any type of improvement and manage it however the committee seems fit, and that's between the states and the state and the Recreation Commission, which obviously is you know an entity under the Select Board. So we have the ability to improve upon it. They will never allow us to own it outright.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that was a bit confusing.
But they will happily allow us to pay for,
of course,
it all with their thanks.
Yes, how interesting. Thank you. And the other question is on the dredging at Warner's Pond. Did Delia indicate whether if this grant were provided from the CPC, does that top off the bucket for the dredging project? So
the dredging of the 2 areas is a total of, well, in 2018 dollars, it was 1.5 million. Now that the budget has passed, the capital budget after town meeting, coupled with what was received from both CPC, we believe, providing the article passes through you all and the capital article passes at the same time at FY21, that yes, there'll be enough to begin that. Okay. The idea is that the first phase of Giroux, which really is the only phase right now until we live through a few years and see how people are using it, would be complete, and we would not finish out the areas that have sort of the fishing or some of the boating capabilities until the dredging is complete. And then we could perhaps come back and see how people are using the boat launch, or the expanded one on Commonwealth Ave versus the one at Giroux. So it does fit in perfectly, providing that you know, the voters and the committees like yourself approve it going forward. So we're looking at about 1.7 because we figure that we have to, you know, put some in for inflation. So that's the hope.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members or the public about the town proposals? Kate, I did wonder, I didn't hear a number on the conservation restriction. Maybe that was on purpose.
Oh, No, I'm sure it wasn't. Just a second. It's $100,000 under open space.
Thank you.
Although I'd like to reserve the right to alter these numbers because this is just our first pass at it, and some of it we need to still be able to do some due diligence and kind of sharpen the pencils.
You have until October 9th.
We're working on it.
Good. Matt?
It seemed like other than the regional housing service office funding and then the housing production plan, there's nothing on community housing this year. Is there something that we're missing here? Maybe other proposals in the offing, or is this one of those years where we're just going to put money into a fund for a reserve for future? But it seems like we need to keep rolling on community housing.
I have to say, I was a bit surprised, and it could just be a timing issue, that there wasn't something else that was coming forth for the Giroux House. And I'm not sure exactly where that is. I know that they had gone to the select board and received permission to use $100,000 of that for the design and kind of to get that going. My understanding from that group is that they really wanted to start in earnest relatively soon. I think their original plan was in the fall, but of course they were waiting for town meeting like we all were. So I assume that they're going to start around the same time as we are with the Giroux project in the spring, because we're sharing an electric and water line. So I don't know whether there was another meeting conflict or something like that, but I guess I would tell you not to be surprised if in fact that's something that comes forward from them.
Linda?
I just came from a meeting there, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And I think that they do want to proceed as quickly as possible. They have run into some challenges with an environmental study right now, and I need some additional funds that they need for a survey. So that this may be of interest to them to pursue.
I'm sure they know how to get in front of us since we just gave them $300,000.
I'm sure they do.
Is the Giroux House the one that is adjacent to Giroux Pond, the one that's the affordable housing unit? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
The Giroux House?
Well,
another house somewhere that I've lost track of.
No. Why don't you let me? Let's see if I can share my screen again, just because it's.
Because I thought we destroyed the house that was on that.
We did, I know, and we keep saying the Giroux House, but we should call it Giroux House 2.0 or something, because you are absolutely correct that there is
so it's the one
no house there
that we helped to fund last year.
Let me just, sorry, moving over here.
What a great map you have.
Well, this is our town's GIS. You too could have this.
I too could.
Simply clicking on our website.
Are you looking for Giroux, Kate?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say it's over to the west.
I had to reorient myself, my goodness. So this is the parcel right here. Obviously, that is the Giroux property. This is actually probably the GIS hasn't been updated in the past year. This was the existing home. This was their detached garage. What we effectively did is we re-subdivided this, making this whole larger part, it's about 7 acres, as a park. And then what we did was we took, basically, if you can see from here to here, we took this parcel here and put that as an affordable lot. And so the thought is that, let's see if I get my drawing tool. There would be enough frontage such that a driveway would come down here and then loop here in the front. And then a home would be here, single family, and it would have a walkout basement, because what this doesn't show you is that that is a very steep slope down right here.
Yeah, isn't this so funded last year?
In part, yes. Yes, it is.
All
yeah.
right.
And so this is the home I think that you're thinking of, that is already an affordable home.
I understand that, but it's the one adjacent to it that we funded. But at least we funded the idea of developing.
The idea, right. It's not,
So
it's not quite there yet.
Yeah. So I just wondered why we were calling it the Giroux House, and I wanted to make sure there wasn't another house somewhere that.
We probably should think of a better name.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm just glad to get it oriented. Thank you so much.
If there are no other, oh yeah, Nancy, I'm sorry. You're muted.
The switchback is an extreme solution, I think, in terms of the landscape. And I'm wondering, I know it's late in the game and I'm sorry for asking, but this is a serious question. Were there other ways to get people up and down that slope besides doing that extreme switchback solution, which I think could be fraught with maintenance and erosion problems and everything else in the future, like a trolley or a fixed, I don't know, something that goes up and down and takes people up and down. I just wondered if it was ever considered.
So just for the record, you are absolutely not late in the game by any means. And I think that's been a community misconception of which we will take blame for. The architects that we hired through the, I guess through their desire to try to get the word out, submitted the notice of intent to the Conservation Commission with the discussion image, and then felt like it would be continued indefinitely while we did the public outreach, because they had done a project at a neighboring community, and that's how the neighboring community handled it. But we handle it such that we do the homework usually before we end up doing the NOI, and then we get a new homework assignment and we come back. And so we pulled it and asked them to put it on the agenda for the latest possible, and obviously made the commitment that we would re-notify all of the abutters. So we haven't actually even started talking to folks about that. And I was on another meeting today regarding White Pond, and I agree with you that it's extreme. There isn't anything else that is a walkway like that we could do, because that is the only way that we meet the requirements for grade.
Yeah, I know.
And so what I've asked, and I went to the Disability Commission's meeting last week and asked that once we sort of got through town meeting, if it would be possible for me to come in front of them both virtually and also in person perhaps, and have them kind of take a look at it and then take a look at it at least conceptually in their mind's eye at the site. Because what we don't want is for a group to say, okay, but that's equivalent to 1/8 of a mile, and I don't want to do 1/8 of a mile to get to the waterfront.
Yeah.
So I think we'd like to have that discussion with people. I can say just anecdotally, I had a small surgery on my knee, and so I was one of the people who was, or is, temporarily having mobility issues, and that would be an awfully long way to crutch.
Yeah, exactly.
Up and down.
Exactly.
So I think it's a worthwhile discussion, which we have not started, but certainly will. I just don't know an alternative unless we did some type of ski lift type of situation or something like that, which I think Ryan would quit on me if I told him he also had to maintain a ski lift.
That's not crazy.
There's probably other solutions that are better than I can articulate, but I'm very concerned about that.
Understood.
And especially for the reasons that you said.
T-bar, rope tow.
He does not speak for the town. He does not speak for the town.
All right, I'm really sorry I asked the question, but I'll stay tuned.
Well, let me just see if there's any other interested applicants, any public comment, any more questions from our committee. I want to thank those who came, Kate and the two Ryans, the team about the Right Tavern, and I think Melissa has departed about the flagpole.
She's gone.
We will transition then to our public meeting, and all the visitors with their proposals are welcome to stay. There's an agenda for the public meeting that consists of our membership and our officer elections, reviewing some of the documents that go out to the successful grantees after the town meeting vote on Sunday. There's some project status reports to look at, and that's what's ahead. So anyone is welcome to stay, and we'll move, unless there's another concern from anyone, we'll move on to the item about membership and officer.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
And I want to thank you too. I need to leave, but see you all on October 9th.
Yep.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank everyone for the work that you did and for your success, and congratulate you on your success at the town meeting. And I'm going to say goodnight as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Linda, thank you for everything.
Thank you, Linda. You've been a very loyal participant in all of our meetings, and I think without the support of the select board, the FinCom, and the work of town council way back at the FinCom meeting some months ago, without all of that, we would not have sailed through with no questions and no amendments.
Well, it's to all of your credit, and you're in good hands now with Matt Johnson as your upcoming select board liaison. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
So moving on, with the successful completion of our grant applications at town meeting, that brings the conclusion to my time as chair. And we ought to be picking a new chair, a new vice chair, and we think we have a couple other officers, Heather. We have a secretary and a treasurer.
Yeah. We have a secretary and a treasurer.
Okay.
And then we also have 2 members whose appointments expire at the end of this month. So that's Nancy Nelson for the Historical Commission and Hester for the Housing Authority. So if those committees want to have the same person reappointed, they just need to let me know. So I can reach out, or if Nancy wants to be reappointed, and I'll speak with Hester.
Committee.
We just have to get that done as well.
Yeah.
Nancy, any comment?
No, I'm very willing. I think I need the informal or the formal blessing, right? So
I had the impression from Hester's email that she was equally interested, but I'm glad you'll speak with her.
Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. The normal process would bring our vice chair into the chairmanship. And I believe, Tom, that's acceptable to you to move forward and take over?
Yes, sir. I'm willing and I hope able.
So do I hear a motion?
I move.
Hi, Diane. Go ahead.
I would second that.
What is the motion, please?
Okay, I move that Tom be the chair of the committee.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Tom, you're in charge.
Well, if I may, just for a second, John, you may want to kind of close out the rest of our process. But I want to say just thank you. You've done a wonderful job.
Absolutely.
And it has been it's been a very rich year in terms of the breadth and depth of applications that we've taken on, and then the challenges that we've had through this COVID period and the delayed town meeting. And I just think you've done a wonderful job shepherding both the committee and the process and our article through the town. And thank you so much for that wonderful leadership and service.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. I certainly breathed a great sigh of relief as our articles went one by one with no amendments and
Yeah,
no,
that was great.
nobody put a hold on
Yeah.
any one of them.
That
And
was
there's a
great.
lot of credit to be, as I said, to the board, select board and the FinCom and town council for all the groundwork that got us to that successful result. And I should thank you, Tom, because I did have to disqualify myself from one of the applications, and you filled in gracefully and energetically to through to a vote on those two particular religious organizations that ultimately carried the day. It was whatever that decision was. I wasn't in the room, but it worked.
Well,
it worked out. Everybody
This,
was treated.
this is a hardworking, very committed group.
So on the vice chair, I was working with Heather. It does appear that town committee rules, I won't say exactly prohibit, but certainly don't appear to support anyone who is a representative of another group becoming an officer. So that we have traditionally had our select board appointees become a vice chair and chair. And after some conversations I've had with the select board appointees, Peter Ward indicated to me that he did have interest in being vice chair, and Diane was very comfortable about waiting her turn, which will not be far off.
Very comfortable.
So do I have a motion about Peter?
I move that Peter Ward be the vice chair of the CPC going forward next year.
Second.
Right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Peter, I know you're there on the phone. You're the new vice chair, and we're pleased, especially because you've been on twice now. A lot of years of experience to bring to that job. So Heather,
I will look forward to following up in Tom's shoes.
Good.
Well, hey, I think Heather has done really a great job making sure the chair and the vice chair stay on track. And Heather, we'll need you to continue in that role for as long as possible. You'll have to ultimately tell us what that transition looks like. I know we're trying to get to most of our recommendations in place before the end of the year.
Yeah, so I don't know if everyone knows, but I am expecting. So I'll be going out on maternity leave starting in December. So trying to get everything approved and a warrant article submitted before I leave so that I don't leave you guys high and dry and kind of on your own.
Well, congratulations. I guess that's one of the things we miss when we don't meet in person.
Exactly. It's congratulations. And I can imagine that we're going to have a very intense and determined October and November.
And a superb leadership team taking over. Yeah, Diane?
Are we going to be able to do some site visits? Because there wouldn't be 10 of us together. So, I mean, is there a way that we can do some site visits?
So I have it on my list to ask at my staff meeting tomorrow. HDC and I believe like Planning Board and ZBA, we've started to be allowed to meet for site visits outside as long as everyone's wearing masks and stays 6 feet apart. I don't know if that changes if we have to go inside, depending on the project. So I have that on my list of things to ask at my staff meeting tomorrow, if we're allowed to meet inside for a site visit with masks on and distanced.
Yeah. Then NIC did outside site visits.
Yeah. I don't know if Matt knows if the select board's given any advice on.
Just that we have participated as the planning board in a site visit already that was outdoors, and we do intend as a select board to be making a site visit for the 2229 Main Street again, which would also be outdoors. I mean, as I look down the list of proposals, it seems like we don't really need indoor visits, as far as I could tell. Maybe Rye Tavern, but that's the only one I could think of.
Wheeler Harrington.
Oh, okay. All right.
We could go in at seriatum. I mean,
Yes, I was gonna say, we could go in and
I mean, we could just
one at a time or two at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other
It
than
might
that,
be a little
about that.
complex to arrange, especially at the Wheeler Harrington House, but
Yeah.
Heather, we need a secretary, correct?
Yeah, we need a secretary and a treasurer.
And who have those folks been? They're very quiet.
So
I've been treasurer in the past, John. If no one else wants to do it, I'm certainly willing to do it again. It's kind of nice to sign checks that aren't my money.
I'd be happy to be secretary.
Who's been secretary?
I don't know who's been.
Burton has been secretary.
Oh, Burton, you can keep going. Yes.
Who?
Sure.
Who's currently secretary? I'm sorry.
Burton.
Oh, Burton.
And he
Oh.
said he'll keep going, which is grand.
Did I just hear that, Burton?
Yes, yes.
All right. So maybe I can get a motion that has both names in it.
I move that Judy Zonbrecker be the treasurer going forward, and that Burton become remain the secretary going forward. Burton Flint.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then we're all set with officers. That's great. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
We'll miss you.
I'll be around,
Yeah.
but much quieter. Let's see, number 2 was the results of town meeting. I think everyone knows, we've talked already about how pleased we all are that with the support from the select board and the FinCom and the capable work of town council on one particular night with some of the reluctant FinCom members, we eventually got full approval on Sunday. So Heather, we do have grant agreements. Should we run through them one by one?
Hey, John?
Yes.
Peter, I have one question related to town meeting, and unfortunately I was not able to be there. But in light of Junction Village and the 3 years of contributions that CPC has made, I just was curious, do you happen to know or does anybody know if the tax increment financing agreement, which was Article 16, was passed?
It was passed.
It did.
Okay, that's a big deal.
It was passed with an amendment that was made in advance and reviewed by both the select board and FinCom, both of whom approved it.
Okay.
There was
Not fully approved it. It was 4-1 in the select board, and it was what was it in the FinCom? 8-5 or 9-5?
Something like that.
9-5.
9-5. But it was approved.
Okay, thank you.
So Heather, would you like us to go through those one by one?
I mean, if everyone's reviewed them, I know Peter had one comment. There was a typo on the staff and technical services MOU. So I know to fix that one. I don't know if anyone has any comments or if you want me to pull them up one by one on the screen.
I think we've all read them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read them as well. I saw no concerns except for Heather, what I mentioned to you.
Yep. So yeah, it says Aspet River Bridge in a paragraph on the staff and technical services one. So
The only one I wanted to mention was on Holy Family, whether we wanted to say anything about public use, because it had been one of the issues that the FinCom had raised. And I suppose if we did that, we should probably put it in the first parish as well. I know we did that with the Masons back on their first grant.
Oh,
that's a good catch, John. I mean, I think that's important.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, Heather. Do you?
I mean, we've reviewed project conditions that it hadn't come up yet, so it wasn't included in the grant agreement.
I do not have the Masons language in front of me, but I assume it would be something similar.
The language was somewhere along the lines of like the building would be open to the public a minimum of 3 times a year for educational purposes or something.
Yeah, I think in that case, it would be different because this would be a more generic open for,
We also did this with the funding of the steps in West Concord for the church.
That's right.
That's right.
do you want to send some language around for us to look at?
I can, but if we don't approve it tonight, then I can't send these out.
Oh.
Can you see
Oh,
the-
I didn't know you, okay, so you were wanted to move that quickly, all right.
Well, the funds are available as of yesterday. So, and you know, applicants have now waited almost 6 months longer than usual for access to this funds. So I did want to try to just get it out as soon as possible. But we can wait until our next meeting, which is in
Yeah.
October.
I think, no.
Yeah,
Can we work it up now?
to put it, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
We just take what we
Yeah.
what we've used previously and modify it.
Unless someone in the motion to approve these grants, myself and Tom, the ability to add a condition.
A condition, yeah, that's a
That-
great idea.
Yeah, that's a good way to
that
do
Tom
it.
and I draft and agree upon.
So we could just delegate that to you guys. in
Yeah,
terms
and then
of
we could
trust your
work on that
judgment. I
outside the
think
meeting
that's-
and give everybody an update. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the intent is public use for outside organizations of their facilities, is that
Right,
correct?
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
Okay,
free.
I just want to make sure I was clear on what we
And
were.
I think it's free public use,
The public benefit.
Free, okay, free public use, okay.
because that's right in the Holy Family, the last memo that Holy Family sent.
Yeah.
And that's really central to the agreement, to our feeling that we could go forward.
Approval.
Yeah. I don't recall us talking with First Parish about free public use. I know we did with Holy Family.
It's a little hard to have free public use of a steeple.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking only of equal treatment, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we could say if anybody wants to have a meeting in the steeple.
I mean, we could do similar to the Masons of having it open 1 or 2 times a year for public to climb up into it.
And do it. That's a good idea.
I mean, I found it really
Liability.
interesting to go up there.
Was extremely interesting.
I think we
Yeah.
would probably have to discuss that with them, right?
Yeah,
To
that might
see
be
if-
a
That's true.
liability on them.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they were not accommodating to such a request.
I think the same condition that for Holy Family would be amenable to the First Parish. I mean, Holy Family's the roof, and this is the steeple, so it's still kind of, you know.
That's a little bit different though, because Holy Family's
Yeah.
repair made a big room space available.
Right.
It was conditional on that. If you remember that we said that this was going to therefore be for public use and for public good.
Right. I don't think it was a big discussion with First Parish because I think they just said, you know, that they already provide meeting space.
That's right. So we didn't
Yeah.
really have that discussion.
But I do recall we questioned them a fair amount, Holy Family, a fair amount on that.
Right.
We did.
Yeah.
Not on right.
And there's
And-
actually
and-
2 rooms that'll be available.
Right. Where First Parish, we didn't talk with them about it. Plus, that would be a change, I believe, of their current policy. Because I think if an outside group requests to use space in First Parish, there are some fees that are associated with it.
But there are, you would have to count the free open days of Right Tavern, perhaps, or other things as Right Tavern.
Yeah.
This
I just feel uncomfortable popping that on them with
Yeah.
no discussion.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I agree with you, Judy.
Because
I'm-
you remember, I thought honestly that First Parish was much more of a historic preservation project.
I'm confused a little, Judy, as to who them is.
Well, as I recall, if
them, who's the them?
What, for the first parish?
First parish, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
And I just
I should have been clearer on that. Yeah. No, I think Holy Family, I recall the conversations. I mean, we talked with them a fair amount about that.
We did.
Well, it was also part of their materials that they gave us. They
Right.
listed all the groups that they give
Yeah.
space for free as it was.
That's exactly right, Paul.
Yeah, I think with
Kind of
First
building.
Parish, I really feel that it's the iconic exterior that this applies to and that everybody benefits from,
Right.
more.
Okay, so
What?
Tom and I can draft a
We'll
condition
draft that.
for Holy Family.
Do we need a motion to make that happen?
Yeah, we need,
I
I'd
move,
like a motion to approve all the grant agreements and MOUs.
well, before I do that, may I make a motion for you and Tom to meet together and draft language to remind Holy Family of its commitment to making their new rooms available to the public for public use.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Right, then all opposed, then that carries as a amendment to solely to the Holy Family conditions. And then Heather needs a motion to approve all the other conditions.
All the other grant agreements and MOUs.
I move that.
Can I say hope? So moved.
Second?
Sorry.
Second.
Oh, once you get rolling, you just keep rolling.
Well, yes.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yep.
Did you get a motion, Heather?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
And seconded.
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, then Heather, you have all your grant agreements and your MOUs. One amendment?
Yes. I was gonna ask how everyone feels. Usually like those go out in the mail. Do you feel comfortable with me just emailing them to applicants and then stating if they'd like a hard copy of the grant agreement that they can request it and then I'll mail it to them?
Is there a problem with mailing it to everybody? If it was me, I'd want it. But
I just figured everyone is working from home and has a printer at home.
But I think it probably should be followed up then, email and then followed up with a mailing of hard copy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can do both then.
I agree.
I don't think that's financially ruinous. I think it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Next item is to review project status reports. And there were a lot, thank you, Heather. There was a lot of work to put. I didn't even count the number, but it was a large number in the meeting materials website of individualized project status reports. I think the normal way we'd approach it in the past was have people raise questions if they looked at them and were troubled by.
I had a couple of questions.
Please, Judy.
The one I was a little confused by, and I don't know, is the Warner Pond dredging permitting report, where it indicates that 0% of the project's been completed, but it says all work is complete. So I was a bit confused by how this one was filled in.
Might just be a typo.
That's what I was wondering.
Didn't notice that anomaly.
Yeah, it is that. I see it here. That is confusing.
Yeah.
Which
then I assume the monies have been spent. And I guess that's the other thing I was confused by. How do you tie the status reports then to the summary, the funding summary? Are they linked or not?
Good question.
The Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah.
So I just fill that in, whether or not I got, here I can share screen, whether or not I received a project status report or not. I don't know if it,
Yeah, I guess what I wasn't certain about is that the how does the funding adjusted? Is that based upon the actual invoices that are received from the project and not from the status report? Is that correct?
Right, right.
Okay, that's what I was not certain of.
Sometimes this spreadsheet isn't accurate
Mhm.
because a lot of the times, especially for town projects, they spend money out of that account and don't let me know.
I see. I think
And
I've heard that before.
And the status reports are just biannual, right?
Right, what did it?
Twice.
Annual? I can't
We
remember.
we do them twice a year, I think, where there may be drawdowns more often.
Yeah, I think
But
I think we had a conversation and switched it to annually.
That's what I
thought. Oh, is it singular?
Otherwise requested.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, yeah, I think the one that we've already discussed a bit, but it is a little perplexing, is the Harrington House. You know, where
I agree.
you know, this
Yeah.
note that this project has been overlooked, and
That's what I'm looking at.
you know, there's been taxpayer dollars dedicated to something that is a little unclear, and I think so that one we need to
I think
get the
there's
team together and clean that up.
Connect between, because Marcia, I think, was kind of in charge of that project.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a disconnect between Marcia and Kate on where that project stands. So I think
That's what the status report would indicate.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Because Kate was saying it was complete and that Ryan did all the work. And the last I heard was that they still needed to do some of the work. I don't know. So I think Marcia and Kate and Ryan need to have a discussion on that project.
So.
Because as Judy pointed out, that goes back to 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
And
yeah, I agree, Peter.
If Kate's right, we would get our money back.
Right.
That's correct, because we've gone over the time horizon.
Yeah.
And on that front, I had the same question about the old manse. There's over $30,000 remaining from phase 1 and phase 2.
So they had recently, during this shutdown, sent a reimbursement request that Judy and I looked over and signed off on, and had indicated in the email to me that they would be coming to the commission and asking if a certain project kind of fell in line to use that money. And I just haven't received anything from them. And I don't know if that's just because of the shutdown and just, you know, getting behind on projects. But they had indicated to me fairly recently that they did intend on coming to the committee and asking to use those funds for something.
Right.
Okay, because it goes back to 2015.
Yeah, they have actively been spending money though, as of like 2 months ago.
What they said, if I remember correctly, was they had other ideas for how they could spend the money, which seems to be potentially outside the scope of what the money was allocated for. They just want to use it for good stuff.
Right. So they needed to come to the committee to see if it fell within the scope of the project. And I just haven't heard from them since.
But they felt it, I thought it was, they were items beyond the scope or different from the scope of the project. So in that case, I would not be very happy about that.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to let them come and make their case.
Right.
Yeah. I feel kind of similar about the White Pond Beach restoration, that I just want to understand that. I'm looking at their report, 50% design, you know, money's been spent, but it seemed maybe Kate today was saying, well, the accessibility design, we're not very committed to that at this point, and it's very early in the process. And I'm not sure if that's completely aligned with what the report indicates, but I think that's pulling some of those past commitments forward and making sure we've got a level of clarity and confidence in that.
Tom, that's really, I was surprised, it was anybody else, that we didn't hear more about the Emerson Fields, because I thought they would come back again this year. And one of the things I've heard, and I don't know that this is accurate, but it's what I've certainly heard from a couple of people, is that the project management of that whole Emerson project field has changed. And rather than waiting to gather great aggregates amounts of money and do huge renovations, that they're going to be doing it in portions. And actually even rethinking how they use the fields, maybe not so much for soccer or baseball, but for lacrosse, for instance. I mean, you know, are they really designing the fields in a way that is appropriate for town use and present, you know, needs? So I think there's a lot of reconsideration going on. So when I read the Emerson Field project status report, I was both curious and also was surprised they didn't come back for some more money, and relieved given what happened last year. So
I mean, they may still be putting, you know, planning on
Between
putting an
now,
application
yeah,
together.
but between now and the 9th, that may happen, right? Yeah, I think that this is going to be a bit of an anomaly year, obviously, with town meeting just a couple of days ago.
Right.
And
Yeah.
everyone scrambling to get through town meeting. And now here we are, you know,
24
looking
hours
at,
later.
and applications due in a month, you know,
Right.
or whatever it is, you know, this could be a pretty intense period for some applicants to try to get themselves organized and ready to go by the 9th. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Oh, and good for them if that's what the plan is.
I don't know. I think that it seems to me that the Emerson Field applicants last year did get the message that we'd like to see more focus and more ability, not to just bank money, but to get taxpayer dollars, you know, kind of implemented.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I had the impression from Aaron when he came and did his last presentation, he was already kind of moving that, you know, pulling together a plan. It was just, he didn't have enough runway to get it completed in time to convince
The
us.
site visit or at Kai's Road?
At Kai's Road.
Yeah, agreed.
It's so strange to have hot chocolate this time of year. I just say I've got my Starbucks hot chocolate. I mean, it's cold out there.
Can somebody clarify the status of the, oh, I'm sorry, I misread it. My eyes are going crazy. Never mind, Timothy Wheeler. I was going to Wheeler Harrington. Never mind. Okay, that's all I have.
Right, good.
Yeah. Thank you, Heather, for pulling these together.
There are a few that I still have not received a status report from. And I apologize, this spreadsheet that I put up doesn't show who I received one from and who I didn't. Let me see if I can, I have it somewhere.
And I did have one other question on one of the status reports too.
Oh, okay. So who I didn't receive, and I've followed up with multiple, you know, sent multiple emails to, the Concord Integrated Preschool Playground. I've not, here I can share my screen so you guys can see what I'm looking at. I've not received a status report from them. Ride Out, he did not give me a status report. Let's see who else.
That's a nice spreadsheet.
And then this one might actually be closed. So that might be why I haven't received one. So it really just those two. So I don't know if you want me to send an email threatening to close the project unless they send me a status report.
Sure.
I wonder if COVID has prevented, I mean, I know that they haven't been able to develop children's play areas because they don't want children playing, you know, in areas because of the transmission of infection. And I don't know if that's part of it. I'm not familiar with this project because I wasn't on CPC.
I'm pretty sure it's completed.
Oh, you think it's over? Okay.
I think it's a matter of submitting the report and getting it complete and closing it out. I think it'd be useful to kind of, because it seems like the two that you highlighted are ones that either Heather you think might be completed, or I'm pretty sure the playground one's completed, just so we can get them, you know, wrap everything up. I think that's just good stewardship of our taxpayer funds.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll send them another email nicely saying that we need a status update on these projects and can they be closed.
Yeah.
Heather, given COVID, did we relax the timetable for the reports a bit
Yeah,
for
the
folks?
reports were originally due in April.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think it's really important that we've wrapped up this stuff by the end of the year, you know, and gotten things submitted and reviewed, given everything else we're going to be doing with new applications. But I think it's just really important. And I think it is maybe a good discipline for some of our grantee groups to take the fall to make sure their accounting's in order and we can understand it.
Yeah, it'd be nice for the projects that we discussed. Like, I know it's up to the people running, but it does seem that there's some other ones that are finished, and it would be nice if the time would be taken by the people who received the funds to close those out. Because, you know, the Chamberlain Park Bridge assessment, I know Delia put in that the White Pond project, I think she's planning to get that wrapped up by the end of the year. Again, it shows that things are done and the public can look at this list and say, okay, I know the funds have been spent, delivered what was promised, and it's been accounted for.
Well, it's not as if these projects, the form that has put together here are arduous to fill out.
Right.
You're right, Peter.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well.
Heather, when is our next meeting?
I think we're on the 13th, aren't we?
October 13th.
So, John, good question there. The applications are due on the 9th. And am I recalling that properly?
Yes.
And then we'll make those available and we'll look at them over the weekend and Monday and be ready for Tuesday?
Yeah, so Tuesday, I don't know why online it says it's an 8 a.m. meeting. It would probably be a 7 p.m.
Yeah, could you change that, please?
So I'll fix that. But yes, as applications come in, I'll scan them and upload them to the website for you guys to look at. And then I was gonna ask everyone to send me an email with your address, and I'll drive around and drop off your packets of applications before the Tuesday meeting, so you have the hard copies of everything.
Why don't you come and pick them up?
Wow.
Rather than having you drive all over town.
Yeah, I was thinking we could pick them
If
up.
you would make them available in town hall, because it'll still be open because of the voting. So if you made them available there, we could each go in and just pick them up.
I can. Right now, I don't know what the standards are at town hall at my office building. It's by appointment only. Can you come in the building?
Oh.
And I'm working kind of exclusively from home.
I believe we can go into the town hall for a number of reasons, not the least of which is early voting.
Okay. All right. So I'll check with
When's early voting start?
Oh, Diane, I don't know. I think it's the 20. I don't remember. I should, but I don't remember.
I should know it right off the top.
Yeah,
of my
I should too, and I don't remember.
I should have it, but I mean, I think we may be within.
I think it starts October 12th.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we're going to be
at
a time when the early voting is on. So I mean.
Yeah.
So.
I have a question. Has anybody heard anything from the Masons about them coming back for their roof project? They did. Tom, if you haven't seen it, I should give you a copy of the roof report. It's a mini historic structures report, sort of, but they decided not to do an invasive investigation, which of course is the only way they would really know what they were getting into. So I was a little frustrated with that. I wonder if anybody's heard from them.
He had emailed me and said they intended on submitting an application, and I let him know the deadlines and let him know the dates of all these informational meetings.
Okay.
So I don't know why he hasn't attended.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So
They're a little bit of a veteran group, so.
does everyone prefer to pick up the packets of applications? I don't mind. I'll have to come into the office.
Whatever's easier for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say whatever is easiest. So I'm also working from home. I'm around, or whatever's easier for you.
Yeah, because I have to go into the office just to pick them up, to scan them all anyways. So I don't mind while I'm in Concord to just drive around and put them on everyone's doorstep.
That's remarkable.
In the town that I worked for before, all of my boards got paper packets for every meeting, and we hand delivered them.
Oh my gosh.
All four of my committees, I drove around town all week delivering.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember
Head of the Natural Resources Department, they send somehow through the postal system that the information is due like on Friday at noon, and we get our packets in the Saturday mail. So you might want to check with.
I mean, you get stacks like this big, so it would probably be really expensive for me to mail. I don't mind just dropping them off.
Okay, I was gonna say I get stacks like that from NIC too.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah.
Did you do? Well, we'll send you our addresses, Heather.
Yeah, if you want.
I don't want to break the postal system right now, though.
No.
Yeah. Just send me.
Just doing it all by themselves.
So Heather, another bit of administration. So by the 13th, we'll make sure we've got all seats filled on the committee, right? It's really Nancy, you and Hester just following up on those, on those appointments. So we'll be full. And as the committee will maybe recall from last year, we paired up around the applications. And I just wonder, with regard to our site visits and other, kind of work, maybe the pairing up helps us to be a little bit more nimble around either getting into a property. It's really, it's good for everybody to see it, but it might be, if we choose to do that again, it might be really important for a couple of people that are really focusing on that application to do it, or maybe we can have that. We can see what our turnout looks like on the 13th in terms of applications, and then maybe get ourselves organized in some way, in some version of what we did last year, maybe that helps us to be kind of strategic around how we, do the site visit.
That's a wise idea.
Yeah.
Heather, if we had questions or concerns about some of these pending grants, either based on the spreadsheet or based on the reports that you got. And I suppose I should have been asking Tom this question. Could we suggest that they be on for discussion on the 13th? Or is the 13th too packed an agenda to take a look at some of these really old, somewhat puzzling projects like the calf pasture 5,000 from 2019.
I've seen the product for that.
I think, Heather, can we do a little bit of offline work to bring back, if we took the number of projects that need to be kind of reviewed by the group, maybe you and I can organize that a little bit. So over the course of several meetings, we could kind of run through them all. I think it would be, I don't think we want to put it off. I think that's just going to,
I think you and I want to look at them and figure out who we need to ask more questions of. And I can send those emails and maybe have responses for the next meeting.
And Peter, maybe you want to be a part of that too, and be part of that.
But also some of these people might be trying to get applications together. So they may not be, able to respond, within that short time frame about these projects when they're trying to scramble and put together an application.
At the same time, Marcia, I think Marcia's going to have to answer for the two Bruce Freeman projects that are open.
Right.
When she comes.
So those numbers in that spreadsheet are not accurate. She's only she has less than $3,000 left, I believe, or $2,000 left.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's it. It's all been spent.
Okay, so this is a work in process.
But there was some, like the project, John, that you mentioned around calf pasture. I'm pretty sure that one's completely finished. And the projects that are done, it would really be good to get those all lined up on the funds and get them closed out.
Be doing them a favor,
Yeah,
actually, get them out of the way.
yeah.
Yeah.
So usually once a year, I get an update from the finance department on the numbers in all of these accounts, which really accurately portrays what's left in the account. And I haven't gotten that, probably because they needed to wait till town meeting. So once I get that updated spreadsheet from them, I can update my spreadsheet, which will then show accurate numbers.
Thank you. That would be
Thank
terrific.
you.
Great.
Is that something you expect shortly, Heather?
I will send an email tomorrow and find out when I'm going to get it. Usually I get it like right at the beginning of the fiscal year. But I'm wondering if it just hasn't happened because town meeting just happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there are projects going back to 2011, 2012.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Where do you see those? I can only see.
Well, the one from that goes back to 2011 though is taking out the invasives at Haywood Meadow. And that's a long-term project which was addressed in the status report.
I don't even see that. I mean, I can see 17. Oh, I see it. Haywood Meadow. There it is. I missed that one. Okay.
And then there's one of the Junction Village.
Well,
But again,
Yeah.
once you get the updates from finance, these may change.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that money's just been sitting in abeyance, I believe. Just as the town's money has been as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom, you want to close out the meeting?
You know, John, yeah, I guess I'd be happy to.
So just one note before we close it, minutes, I screwed up and uploaded the wrong minutes and didn't have the correct minutes uploaded for everyone to review. So I'll put those on the next agenda.
That's what happened.
Oh, yeah, I was a little confused by that.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have any comments, so.
I was uploading so many documents to the meeting
I don't
materials.
know what's going to happen to town government in December, Heather. It'd be interesting.
So we'll hold those till the 13th.
Yeah, the minutes you did send us, do we need to approve those?
No, those have already been approved. I have no idea why I put those up.
Okay.
That's funny.
Just testing us.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
All right. Well, given that, hey, a great meeting, everybody. May we entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh. Ditto.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Well, it's a great team going forward, and I can rest a little bit.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Everybody. Talk to you later.
Night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.